Hey everybody, EDGYTIM here on the road. I am heading back. It is Sunday, early Sunday morning, almost 8 o'clock, and heading back from a very long yet fun weekend. Week 2 IHSA football, and was able to kind of from one end to the other in this state. Friday, was able to make the trek up north. Checked out New Trier hosting Loyola, and then yesterday, Saturday, which seems like it's been like one continuous day, honestly. Heading back from East St. Louis. I was down at East St. Louis yesterday for 3.5 games, I guess it's fair to say. I caught the second half of Cahokia. They lost, unfortunately, and then I was able to see all 3 of the remaining games. Phillips winning, then of course Homewood Flossmoor winning in the 3rd game, and then of course an incredible game between East St. Louis and just Trinity Catholic from St. Louis, and just insane. We'll get into the atmosphere of the whole Scholars Classic, but we'll so right now I'm north on 55. I am basically just got past north of Edwardsville. I stayed overnight, or shall I say I stayed early this morning. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes here, but so I did that and stayed, got about 4 or 5 hours of sleep, good breakfast, and back on the road, heading back. Sunday's always busy day for me. Obviously a lot of the poll stuff is due. NBC Sports Chicago, top 25, as well as my top 30. I also bang out my 8A through 5A polls. So busy day on Sunday, so I like to get back as early as I can so I can get after it and get back to work. So, all right, so Friday, headed up to New Trier. Hadn't been up to New Trier in a while. They've done a lot of nice work, and it always amazes me, and it's just me because I'm not up there all the time, but it always amazes me at how close New Trier and Loyola really are. I mean, literally walking distance, and pulling out of there Friday, well, again, early Saturday morning. 2 days in a row I've seen games start in one day and finish in the next. So it's crazy. It's an absolutely crazy weekend from a time distance. So anyway, up at New Trier, tremendous atmosphere on Friday night. Absolutely packed stadium at New Trier. Like I said, just a fun, amazing attitude and atmosphere. And again, New Trier, great host. Appreciate their hospitality as always. And from the football perspective, it was all Loyola, quite honestly. I thought Loyola took control in the first drive, looked really good. And just kind of rolled. Now, of course, we had the lightning/rain delay, which a lot of people went through on Saturday. Fortunately, I don't think we got it quite as bad up north than they did down in the south and the southwest burbs. So we waited it out. We had a little over an hour delay, and then we're able to go back on the field and finish. The game stopped with like 2 minutes before halftime in the first half. And so we're able to finish the end of the first half, and then we had a shortened halftime, which I thought was a great move. And then able to finish the game, and probably the most unfortunate part of all that was, really the large majority of the crowd that was at the game Friday just left after the rain, which I can't blame anyone for doing that at all. I mean, it's it really came down. It looked bad. Quite a bit of lightning early on, and if I lived in the neighborhood, if I was just a fan and didn't have to cover it, I probably would have went home as well. So, but that being said, I got to give Loyola fans in particular a lot of credit, because we came back, and Loyola's side, the visitor side, obviously is much smaller than the home side at New Trier, but visitor side was full, so they still, the Ramblers had a nice contingent of fans that hung out and took in the game. So again, credit to them. But really, it was Loyola, and I was impressed with how Loyola came out after an hour delay and just didn't skip a beat. Really didn't lose any of the intensity that they had early on. I thought New Trier showed a little bit of sign, a little bit of life, but overall it was a very difficult matchup for the Trevians. Yeah, just 40-3 final, and again, it really was all Loyola. It was a dominant win by, once again, one of the top teams in the state of Illinois, and arguably it'll be an interesting debate, but after getting a chance to see Loyola, I could see them again challenging for an 8A state title, and again challenging to be the #1 ranked team in the state. So we'll see how things shake out over the next few weeks with Lincoln Way and some others, but Loyola, in my opinion, is right there. So that was Friday. So that game didn't end. I got out of New Trier parking lot, I think, at about 12:05. So again, started on Friday, ended on Saturday, drove back. Didn't get back to Shanahan till about 1:30, 1:40. Went, crashed, got up, was back on the road around 9:30-ish. So then obviously headed down to East St. Louis. So it's been it was a pretty quick, a little quicker than I would like, but it was a quick turnaround Friday. Then Saturday, again, headed down south, East St. Louis. This is I want to say, fourth out of the past 5 years I've been at the Classic. So I've definitely been kind of an early believer of the annual Classic, and it's changed names a few different times. I believe it's still called the Scholars Classic. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but East St. Louis and the Classic. So, and again, I've talked this event up for a while, and I think most people that know me know that I'm not going to talk something up that I kind of don't believe in, and I definitely. By the way, cop has someone pulled over on the other side, so definitely got to watch your speed early on a Sunday morning, because the state police, the Popo, are definitely out. So anyway, the multiple reasons why I love this event at East St. Louis. Number one, Clyde Davis Stadium is phenomenal. It's a great facility. It's big enough. It's similar to, I guess I would compare it to, from a size standpoint and a seating standpoint, kind of a modern day, a little bit more modern day of like Joliet Memorial Stadium where JCA plays. It's that large from a seating standpoint. Again, great facility, great host in East St. Louis. And look, I'm never going to deny the issues that go on in East St. Louis, because you drive through the heart of East St. Louis to get to the high school and to the event. So it's a constant reminder of the struggles in the East St. Louis area. But again, I have been treated incredibly well every time I've been down there. I think the rest of the media that have covered these events would tell you the same thing. Great fans, great high school football fans in East St. Louis, and that's why I find such an attraction to this event, because it's something that I would love to see, like the Kickoff Classic, Jim McHugh's event that he puts on every year that people are more familiar with, being at Soldier Field. This year it was in Northern Illinois. It's the same kind of setup, but it's just the community supports it so well. First of all, East St. Louis does a ton of work lining up really good teams. As I mentioned, this year you had Phillips, you had Chaminade, you had Homewood Flossmoor, you had just a terrific grouping of teams, and then obviously the headliner with East St. Louis and Trinity Catholic. Last year it was Evangel Christian out of Louisiana. So they're able, the organizers are able to get those top tier teams to come down, and that's what to me really makes it. I would love to see something like that happen in Chicagoland someday, but hey, I hope the Classic is here for decades and decades to come, because it's so well put together, it's well run and organized, it's more than just regular concessions. It is Chick-fil-A was heavily one of the sponsors of the event. Had a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. It was like literally like getting it from the store. So everything really top notch. And again, they've got all kinds of concessions. I know in the past they've had like the big balloon houses for kids, and they really go out of their way to make it a big kind of all-day event. And and even ticket prices are pretty affordable if you're going to go and stay. If you stay for at least 2 games, you're by far getting your money's worth at that event. So anyway, so that's the event itself. I can rave on all day, but you get the idea. It's a great event. If you get a chance to go, by all means go. It's always Labor Day weekend, so you can go down, stay in St. Louis for the day, and then obviously if you live up north, head back north. Great fan turnout. Even for the early games, the first game with Cahokia and then the Phillips game at 2 o'clock, really good crowds. And again, a lot of that's credit to the local community, because there are a lot of people just go and watch all day, so credit to them. And then the crowds really picked up when HF played at 5 o'clock. By about halftime of the HF game, you were able to see that the stands were full, and that doesn't even include, and which I know I tweeted out, I said Kevin and I had estimated probably 6,000 to 7,000 total, and I don't think that's a reach, because the north end zone at East St. Louis is a huge tailgate area, and I can't even, there's really nothing else that compares to it. From a number standpoint, I mean, the East St. Louis fans get into it. It's like a college, it's like literally like a college tailgate. So they're out tailgating all day long, and it just grows and grows and grows. And by the time you get to those last 2 games, you're talking at least a couple of thousand people in that parking lot. And you walk through there, it's a blast. So we estimated 6,000 to 7,000 fans there. The last game, East St. Louis, obviously the draw, along with Trinity, just on the other side of the Mississippi, and 2 of the top-ranked teams in the greater St. Louis area. Big appeal. So thoughts. Again, don't want to give a whole lot of thoughts. Cahokia unfortunately lost. I only saw the second half, so again, I would like to see a full game before I make judgment, but what I did see I liked from Cahokia. So Phillips. I thought Phillips' running game played really well. The Wildcats definitely able to get it done on the ground. The passing game, little hit or miss, and I know, unfortunately, I'm driving, so I didn't do a whole lot of research and double-checking names, but I know that Phillips' starting quarterback dinged his hand. I think he might have got it caught in a helmet, or went to throw and follow through and hit it on a helmet. Didn't seem to be really bad injury, but again, with a hand, you never know. But so he ended up in the second half, didn't play a ton, and that certainly had an impact. But again, Phillips' offensive line, I thought, did a great job. They were able to control the ball and really just answered. And Chaminade was a really good team. I know their starting quarterback was committed to Mizzou, and he had a really strong second half. So it was, again, second week in a row that Phillips went and played a very strong team. And again, a lot of credit to Troy McAllister and the Wildcats for just taking on the kind of schedule that they have so far, and obvious national power in Pickering Central, and really another power of Midwest power in Chaminade, and again being able to pull that win off. And what was impressive too was Phillips was able to answer score for score when they needed to. They were able to answer a big play with a big play, and really just kept Chaminade at kind of at arm's length for the entire game. So again, a lot of credit there goes to Troy McAllister and his staff and the kids. So again, very good performance overall, I thought, for Phillips, and they're going to need it, because now they're going to have to play Simeon on Saturday night up at Gately, and again, should be a great game. Might be at that one, I'm not sure yet. I need to look at everything, but that's one I definitely would circle on your schedule. So Homewood Flossmoor, I thought HF obviously playing Lutheran North out of St. Louis. Lutheran North lost to Naz in week 1 and were shut out, and that alone just seeing Lutheran North and seeing that Naz was able to shut them out after seeing them on Saturday really makes that, to me, I was already impressed with Naz, and seeing how they were able to shut out a very strong Lutheran North team for that win in week 1 is really impressive as far as I'm concerned. Lutheran North, big, strong, physical team. Kind of imagine a Joliet Catholic style offense. A lot of veer, a lot of counters, heavy run game, but with probably 6, 7, 8, 9 D1 FCS level kids in that system, and a lot of young kids as well for Lutheran North. So impressive team, but again, HF was able to also get their running game going, which I thought was a big part of their win. And first drive for the Vikings, outstanding. Dom Jones running things under center, and again, Vikings really came out and just had a strong first drive, put up a 7-0 lead. And offensively didn't have a whole lot going on the rest of the half, to be quite honest. I thought Lutheran North adjusted really well. HF couldn't get the passing game going a ton, and then the running game got kind of bogged down. And then Lutheran North running their option, got a couple of scores up on the board and showed some explosiveness. And so it was a ball game at half. I believe we were tied 14-all at half, and with HF getting a very important late touchdown second quarter to really tie it up, I thought was a key in that game. And again, credit to Buzz and HF. Second half, they came out and really controlled the game. Got the running game going. Lutheran North could not get their running game going, and defensively, HF really stepped up, played well, I thought, all game long, but second half in particular really upped their game, and that made a big difference in that ball game. So impressed with HF. Certainly defensively, I thought they played very well. Offensively, still need to get some things going a little bit in the passing game, but again, Leon Tanana, running back, had a very strong day. So again, a good win for the Vikings on the road. And then, of course, the nightcap, East St. Louis and Trinity. And I tell you what, folks, boy, that Trinity Catholic team is fun to watch. Isaiah Williams, their quarterback, young man that's committed to Illinois. I know Illinois says they're going to give him a shot to play quarterback at the next level, and trust me, Williams is a high-level athlete. I just see him being maybe a slot receiver, a defensive back, but from a speed and elusive and excitement standpoint, this kid is phenomenal. Just so quick, twitchy, and it reminded me of the likes of a Greg Williams going back in the day at Bolingbrook, or a Antoine Randall L at Thornton, a kid that you think you've got tackled, and you can put him in a phone booth and he'll find a way to get out of it, and that's the kind of runner Isaiah Williams is. And Mookie Cooper as well, who's only a junior, the running back, is just another electric ball player. And Trinity made it interesting. I mean, obviously a triple overtime loss to East St. Louis, and again, you talk about a must-win for the Flyers. I'm going to say this was a must-win, just in the fact that Flyers did not play well against Detroit King. I had a chance to talk to Coach Sunkett and really most of the assistant coaches before the game, and they just felt that King was able to take advantage of a inexperienced secondary, which Trinity went after right away, which I found very interesting. At Trinity, a mainly running team, went after East St. Louis with the passing game and had able to move the ball. They weren't able to put it in the end zone, but they definitely moved the ball. But credit to East St. Louis, made some adjustments on the personnel side, and I thought overall played fantastic. The scary thing about this East St. Louis team, it's still a very young team. Sophomore quarterback, DeMonta Witherspoon, junior running back, had a big game. And then you've got kids like Antonio Johnson, you've got Lawan Powell, and really outside of the line play, this is really almost an all underclassmen team. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Flyers develop here. As I mentioned, a must-win, and the reason I say that is because next week you go right from the Fire back into the Fire, having to play Edwardsville which again will be another marquee kind of showdown game. Really, so that's 3 in 3 weeks for East St. Louis, and I think health-wise, it looked like the Flyers got out of it okay, which is important. And my first thought is, boy, you talk about a really good test to warm up for Edwardsville. I don't think you can get a much better, a much faster test than you can in Trinity. Yet on the flip side, can the Flyers get up and keep that intensity again next week that they've had certainly this week, and I'm sure they had week 1 when they took on King out at Wayne State in Michigan. So again, this is a team that, you know, obviously to win a state title you need to catch some breaks down the road, you need to stay healthy, but from a talent standpoint, this is a team that should be, if things go their way and they catch a few breaks, they should be in the fight of this for a good long run this season. So very impressed with the Flyers, and just the atmosphere is just crazy and so much fun, and be able to see them pull that win out in triple overtime, just phenomenal. So again, that was my weekend. I will figure out maybe Monday where I'm going this week. I know I'm not going to be doing a lot of traveling. That much I'm relatively confident in compared to the first couple of weeks here, but we'll figure it out. And from the road, Edgy Tim, thanks everybody. Be safe. Don't text and drive.